So, in light of recent commentary reports, possibility Alvin sitting out. What happens if he does? Will the Saints adjust by leveraging their existing running backs that are still on the roster, trying to get more touches out of them optimally? Or is Clint Kubiak going to have to change out of the planned wide zone that they're doing and do something a little different with the scheme to fit the players he has? Or could we be looking at free agents? Who knows? I'm Tim. Let's talk Saints. So it seems we're heading towards possibly some type of holdout for training camp by Alvin, um, but not confirmed as of July 20th, uh, Saturday afternoon while I'm recording this. So hopefully I get to delete this without ever showing it to anybody, but we'll see. Really hoping they reach some type of agreement soon. Right now, I'm not optimistic. I've already done the video where, I admit I can see both sides of their issues and hope hoping in that video that, hey, get to the compromise, find the right deal in years that we can make sure Alvin's here this year, hopefully, but it's looking less and less likely, ready to go for a training camp. But we'll see how it. I understand both sides. We'll see how it plays out. So there's still a chance maybe all this gets worked out. But right now, really the priority for uh, the Saints, I think, well, if we can't work this out and Alvin's not here, what we're going to do. And so I think it's the fans. That's what we're wondering the most going, okay, as this gets closer and closer and could be a possibility, what does the organization do? What can we expect? What we can kind of look forward to? Um, Really looking at five running backs as of when I looked this morning, who's still showing on the Saints official website as running backs. Um, I think we're going to have to start with Kendre Miller, who was our a third round pick for us last year out of TCU. By all accounts, he's expected to be fully healthy and ready to go for this season because he had an injury right at the end of his in the playoffs in his college career. Slowed him down a little bit last offseason. And then in the season, a couple other injuries happened. Very limited action, but I think a lot of people liked what they saw in that very small sample size. And I think that the expectation is that he's more than capable of coming in and efficiently and effectively run this scheme and be productive. Um, and I think the next two guys you're going to have to talk about, and I think this is kind of like the first group that's going to group we would have to rely on. Jamaal Williams, 2017 to 2020 in Green Bay, 21 and 22 in Detroit. In 22 had Ben Johnson as OC, and that's when he had his best year of his NFL career, and then followed up with his worst last year for us. Um, Experience in this scheme because Green Bay are versions of this scheme because Green Bay when he was there was a sort of like the Saints, maybe even or maybe even slightly leaning more towards a zone over a gap scheme. Did both. But when Ben Johnson had him, he was primarily an inside zone runner, but again exposed to other stuff. And none of them run, including us. Nobody runs the version of Frisco or one of the offshoots. So very hard to compare them directly. But it's similar enough that somebody who's been exposed to it, I think, is the adjustment period is not that hard for him. Miller, Williams, and then Robinson, um, undrafted free agent by the Jags in 2020 and had a very good year as a rookie, ended up ripping the starting job away, and the coaching staff got fired. So in 2021, Urban Meyer comes in. I don't even know if we really need to talk about that. That was bad all the way around, and Urban didn't even make it through a full season. But he had some bad hard luck as far as coaching and everything else in those first two seasons, and he was pretty good. 2022, he got traded to the Jets when the Jacksonville had their third coaching staff in 3 years roll in, where he tore his Achilles very early in the season. I think it was 4 games in, wiped out his season. 2023, He was signed and cut during 2023 by the Patriots, the Giants, and the Packers. We signed him to the practice squad December of 2023, very late in the season, and he's still here. He's one of the interesting ones because it could very well be that 2023 um, may have been because of lingering effects from the Achilles injuries the year before. Not everybody recovers the same, even in the modern day of um, m- medical technology and rehabilitation and all that stuff. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes they never come back. So he could be in that boat, but he might be. Um, I think there's a some percentage. I don't want to put a size on it, but there's a percentage that just aren't the same guys, never recover. There's a percentage, obviously, that does, and then there's a percentage that doesn't. It may take them a year longer. A lot of people are expected back in within a year. These type of injuries, major ones like this, sometimes it may take two. So maybe he recovers that ability he was shown in Jacksonville. James Robinson's just been a hard luck, bad luck guy, and hopefully his luck changes a little bit in 2024. The last two are Mims, Jordan Mims, and Jacob Kiboldi, who are both undrafted free agents. Mims in 2023 in Buffalo, and we got a hold of him last year. I'm assuming off waivers, or I actually didn't go look it up, but he's been around the Saints for a little bit now. And then the Saints signed undrafted free agent Jacob Kiboldi from UL right over there in Lafayette this year. Not a whole lot on either one of those two guys. And I don't think it's necessary to go look at those two guys because, and I don't mean that in a disparaging way or anything by any stretch of the imagination. It's just at a certain point when it comes to the NFL and running backs, it's a position that's been de-emphasized over the years. So oddly enough, you can get much like a James Robinson did as an undrafted free agent, sneak through Jacksonville, picks him up in 2020, and he has a fantastic year. So I'm just meaning of the fact that because it's devalued, it's hard to get information on the guys that end up becoming undrafted. Typically, they just don't have a high draft profile. And I kind of looked at both of them, and there really wasn't much there readily available that you could find easy. That's the way I should really talk about this. But they can surprise. Um, so we'll find out in training camp. But really, what I'm just mostly interested in, what I did dig in, and even on those guys, and it's probably unnecessary for those two guys. I think anybody coming out of college in the last 5 or 6 years has a significant exposure to some part or type of the zone scheme, inside, outside, some version of it. I don't know if there's a college anywhere left in the whole system from Division One playoff teams all the way down to the very smallest school out there still runs heavy if gap scheme or only gap scheme. So I think at any time after 2017, basically you have enough experience in the zone scheme where what they're trying to install right now with the Saints ain't causing you much problems as far as getting the concepts and being able to convert whatever terminology they're using into the one you were used to when you were last in it, wherever it was. So I think we're okay there as far as that there's no going to be no fish out of water in this group that has no clue what's going on. So which is a good thing. I think the other thing we really need to talk about is a potential because more than likely, I'm gonna tell you right now, I think whatever if Alvin isn't here and doesn't show up, and however that plays out, or when he does, whatever, I think they're gonna look solution at these five guys. Um, because the only other two options that I can see, and I don't know if anybody else has really brought anything different to the conversation that's starting to been had over the since Alvin stages little mini walkout and mini camp. Um, since all these guys, and then look, Miller, Williams, and Robinson have documented uh, zone scheme snaps, both in college and in the NFL level. You can go back and dig enough places to find. It may not go in depth. I don't know if they were inside, outside, how they were used particularly, other than Jamaal Williams that one year with Ben Johnson. Um, he was primarily the inside, primarily not exclusively the inside zone guy because DeAndre Swift was with him. He was primarily, but not exclusively, the outside zone guy. But they did mix and match. Um, so I think of the three veterans, considering Miller's um, is a veteran. He's in his second year, and he got some snaps last year and some playing live action playing time. Um, I think really the only worries you have with these three, but they are worries, is their health. How's that going to shake out? And questions about their explosive playmaking because Williams is getting up there and he took a lot of carries his couple of years in Detroit. Um, he's basically the same age as Alvin. Miller coming off some injuries, 2 years in a row, the ending of his college career and some stuff like. Hope everything's in shape, ready to go, and he's good. And then what are we going to get from Robinson? Can the Achilles and all that other stuff is perfectly fine? Can he get back to what he was his first 2 years? So that's really the questions, and I'm pretty sure most of that can be answered during training camp. Um, I don't think you're going to see necessarily a heavy scheme adjustment, anything, because Frisco, while they are wide zone, they do run. We've covered that in the videos. Yeah, they run inside zone, and so Clint Kubiak may be adjusting. I mean, his plan may have been with Alvin looking at like very comparable to what Christian McCaffrey can do, going, yeah, that's what we're going to do. We're going to have that. Well, Alvin's not here. No, maybe I'll have to adjust. He has mentioned several times he's here to bring the scheme to the players he has, meaning trying to ask them to do the stuff that they can do well. And a well-run inside zone scheme may revitalize Jamaal Williams because I really think that was where he was most effective in his career doing it. And he's pretty good the way Ben Johnson used him in 2022. So it's a possibility, but I still think they're more that philosophy trying to um, get it spread out and trying to get people out of the box and moving and more room, help the line out and help Derek Carr with some easier, I shouldn't say easier, some open look throws where he can get balls into playmakers. We still have a lot of playmakers on the outside at receiver. Um, and we're going to have some in this running back group. I feel like it may take us all a training camp to find them. And I'd feel a lot better if we had Alvin there just leading the charge and then figuring out how everybody else was going to fit in and contribute. But it may not be a possibility. So really, the last option you would be is to look at the free agent list. I don't know if there's anything really there at this point you'd want to bring in that's going to give you any more of a better option than the five names we were just talking about. Honestly, maybe if one of them wants to come in for next to nothing and take a shot at making the team, especially when you're looking at Cook or Akers, maybe. I don't know. I think Latavius Murray. I don't know if he would be a real good scheme fit in this, but maybe. But he's getting up there in age. So's Kareem. A young Kareem Hunt would be great in this, believe me. But older guy now, and hadn't looked like a little like Alvin. Hasn't looked kind of like himself the last couple of years in Cleveland. Much like Alvin hasn't looked like him. So you don't. Again, you could just be kind of buying into the same uncertainty you have now around players. And then Breed and McKinnon, both favorites and played for Frisco, and they may have something left. McKinnon last few years at Kansas City, two-time Super Bowl winners, 32. So I don't know if you're going to pry him out of retirement. And if he would, I don't see why he wouldn't. Kansas City maybe wouldn't want to bring him back for see if he could contribute to a third run. So I don't think there's really anything here, um, unless the Saints know something. I don't want to say a lesser name, but a name that's not as prominent as these. Maybe somebody comes in, they bring in. We'll see. But I think the bet is just what you're looking at is we're going to ride with what we have and those five and see how it shakes out with Alvin. So we know, are we're pretty sure, I think it's a high certainty. We won't be seeing Alvin in 4 or 5 days at training camp when everything opens. We'll see. Hopefully, we will. But I don't think anybody's real confident at the moment. So I'm like, I think we just have no better option. We've got the five guys, but I think there's going to be enough quality in there. We may be able to produce on the that'll help produce on the offense, give production. I hope so, because if not, this it could be a struggle bus all year to do what we're trying to do, which is run the ball to set up the West Coast pass, like we've been discussing for a while. So if you agree, it's like, hey, we're pretty much gonna have to ride hard with the five we got and hope the Alvin Saints situation works itself out as soon as possible. Hit the thumbs up. Um, Also interested if anybody out there knows of a free agent fit that they could maybe go get and bring in, a little more healthy, younger, reliable than the seven or so names we were just looking at. I did find a free agent when there was a few guys I was just unfamiliar with that I'm not sure who they are, but they could be one of those undrafted jewels like James Robinson was floating around there. So y'all know anything, shoot it at me, and I'll go see what I can find out. But till then, just waiting around to see how Saints and Alvin work it out, or if they work it out, or whatever happens. And when it happens, we'll go from there. So till then, I'm Tim. Peace out. Who dat?